As always, the thing that is really right now in my head and is resonating so much is the interaction with the students, right? Not just their presentations, but the way they interact with each other. And so we had this conversation that we did where I was supposed to give a talk, I think, but I did not do that, and I just asked them for questions, and the most amazing questions came from there. And for me, it has become almost like this was what I had experienced last year, but this year when I come back, it was just like, you know how it is when you experience something for the first time, you have one kind of excitement, and then when you come back and your expectations are set, and then sometimes it doesn't live up to it. It was not that way. I mean, it was so not that way. And it was almost like taking a dip in a pool and getting refreshed again. To be back was to really say, to get that energy and charge back from young people again. So I'm not exaggerating one bit when I say that it was delightful. The first thing I learned is that there is still a lot to learn. And the conversation where one of the students actually asked me about the difference between criticism and negativity, and how do you tell the difference and how do you respond. For over 20 years now, I've been traveling around the world. I give a lot of talks, and I always do interactive conversations with all kinds of people, from like parliamentarians to MBA students and entrepreneurs, and I don't get that many opportunities to talk to people of this age. This question was asked for the very first time. So you can imagine when you talk about what, and I had to respond on the spot, and I had not realized that in the back of my head there were things that, you know, I had read but I had never used in class, or because until somebody asks you a question, you don't know you know it, right? That was the first thing. And then I just realized that it's not what I know that's important, it's really the fact that I did not know that I should be talking about things like this. The hope is, I hope to work with Inventure to develop curriculum to teach effectual entrepreneurship in such a way that it's not only for Inventure, but let's develop the curriculum where we make it very specific to Inventure, and then also develop general elements that can be used around the world. I've always believed that you should solve a problem for a specific customer, and then you can generalize it and scale it, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to really develop this curriculum for Inventure, using all the teaching knowledge that exists in Inventure for this particular age group, and maybe even inviting the students to participate in development of the curriculum, and then keep adding features to it that can be used by, you know, schools in other countries. And there are countries like South Africa and Denmark and Sweden who are making a lot of investment in trying to teach entrepreneurship in K through 12. All over developing countries there are efforts underway, and if we can develop curriculum, and then what I would really like to think about as the second phase is to develop some teacher training. I think we are in the same state with entrepreneurship that science was in the late 17th century. And so my hope here is that at Inventure and through this effort that we are trying to bring to the kids here, the whole idea is to, you know, develop the entrepreneurial method and teach it to everybody. So I'll give you an example. A lot of people think that you have to teach the entrepreneur, and then the entrepreneur has to convince everybody. Something as simple as the family members of entrepreneurs, right? If they do not understand it, it makes a huge difference in the entrepreneur's life. And what they see as possible and what they see as not possible, but also when you go through the ups and downs. And I've actually experienced this, so I invite spouses of my students to come to my class, but I think we need to take it to the next level. So we need to develop an entire citizenry capable of understanding entrepreneurship, so people see it as a method for positive change. So that's the real hope that I have, that we can actually build human beings capable of seeing themselves as change agents, right? Themselves as change makers in their own lives, but they have to see that they have to be participate in change making in many, many different ways, even if they never actually start a company. But the idea is it's learning entrepreneurship is what is important. Actually, you have to walk the walk a bit, right? The reason we teach science using experiments and pretending we are all scientists, right? So that kind of stuff is necessary. So people have to experience entrepreneurship. So it's one thing to tell them about entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs coming and talking to class, but really everybody should see that I could be an entrepreneur if I wanted, but in any case I can participate in entrepreneurship no matter what career I choose. And I think that's the real hope for the Changemaker program. So all the kids I met today, I just want to say, keep on doing what you're doing, right? And let me know how I can help, right? So I don't have a big message for them, but I did have a big message in the conversation that I want to bring about. Because I think children do not really understand. Everybody tells them you're the future and you can do this and all that. But what they do not understand is that the entire world is participating with them. So I was able to show them some statistic that the world as a whole is headed in the right direction, even if we are nowhere near getting to a world we all really want to live in. But at least there's movement and you're not alone. The people you're helping, the change you're trying to make, and the people who will benefit from the change, who don't have that benefit today, are all your partners. That's really the message. The message is you're not alone. The very people you're trying to help are your partners, because they are working every morning, getting up and trying to improve their lives as well. So we had a little bit of a conversation and I showed them some data that is actually, and I think that's the message I want to say. Not only is it you are the future, but a large part of the world is with you in making that future. And so you don't have to feel overwhelmed by any task that you undertake. Invention is actually already infused with the effectual mindset, right? Because the people I've been working with who are working in the Changemakers program and everything, they're already building the program itself entrepreneurially, right? So I think about Inventure, I really think about the venture part of Inventure. I think that's the Inventure way, because just look at how my relationship developed with Inventure. If you think about that as a case study, so I think about that as the Inventure way, that you see something that seems worth doing and you immediately ask yourself, how do we make it doable? What is doable for us? And then you actually do it. And build relationships. And even something like this, right? Everything, if I have limited time, whatever, and you say, okay, you will work with me with all my constraints, and then you make something more out of it than if we had sat and thought, what can we do in half an hour? Somebody's thinking that through, but the idea that you're executing. So thinking effectually, executing like an entrepreneur, and the way you have been relating to me, I'm assuming is the way you relate to other stakeholders and the way you bring them on board and deal with them and nurture them. And when I say deal with them, I mean both on the positive and negative side, because all of that happens when you have an institution of this size. So those are the three things I would say, that you're capable of thinking effectually, executing like an entrepreneur, and the way you build relationships is something that I notice, and I think of those three things as the Inventure way.